Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Test Associates podcast, the show where we sit down with visionaries that are shaping the next era of tech. We're recording this at a genuinely pivotal moment. AI isn't just changing how products are built, it's rewiring the rules of how developers think about identity, distribution, and what it even means to ship something. The pace of that shift means the decisions that developers are making right now about infrastructure, branding, and online presence will compound in ways that are hard to undo later on. And that's exactly why this conversation matters today. Today's conversation is with Sammy Ahmed from Name.com. Sammy leads the marketing, operations, product, and support teams at Name.com. He directs strategy and day-to-day operations and has spent years leading consumer and enterprise go-to-market teams. In this episode, we will be getting into the mindset every developer needs in an AI first world. So if you're building something new or thinking about it, this podcast is for you. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So first of all, welcome to the podcast, Sammy. Would you like to tell the audience a bit more about yourself and where are you joining us from?
Sure. Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me. Really excited to chat with you today. I'm based in Denver, and as you mentioned before in your great introduction, I lead the Name.com team and have led the team for a few years now as the GM. And for those who don't know what Name.com does, we're a domain registrar, kind of operating at the speed of AI. So really excited about the topic today, and yeah, ready to get into it.
Lovely. So thank you for the quick introduction. So for the first question is for the developer listening to this. Whether you're building a new product or thinking about starting something of your own, what should be the top in mind right now, especially in an AI first world?
Yeah, so there are a few things that come to mind. I would say that the first thing is that it's really early. I think there's when you go on social media and you hear developers talking, and you talk to developers at different companies, there's a big sense of FOMO. They think a lot of the value has been created, and they see what's happening at Anthropic or OpenAI, and they think maybe it's too late for them to generate like value in the space. And I think one really important thing to keep in mind is that it's very early. Like it's not even the first inning. A lot of the products being built are still crude, as you can see by a lot of the security issues in some of them. And so keeping that in mind, I think encourages people to try to jump in instead of sitting it out. I think the most critical thing is to get more and more people building. And so if people have the mindset that it's still early and there's still value for them to create, I think they're more likely to do that. So I think that's the first thing. I would say the second thing is the models from the frontier labs are very advanced and are doing things that we're still trying to comprehend and better grow what the implications are. And the actual use cases are still not there. And so there's really only product market fit in a few places. So with coding, obviously there's product market fit, and hence you see all the conversations around agentic building. And then there's other use cases like marketing and legal where there's also a little bit of product market fit, but the models are far outpacing our own ability as people operating and building to take advantage of how smart they are. And so developers should be encouraged to figure out what to do in the building layer because that's where a lot of the value is going to be created, and the models are still kind of more advanced than our own capabilities. So I would say those are two of the biggest things. And then the third thing that I would also mention is that just think about safety a little more than you might normally would. I think in the pre-AI world, safety was a given. You just assumed everything was going to work and everything was going to be safe. And having an extra level of paranoia is really critical during this time because not everything is safe and not everything's going to work. And there's every few days you hear about a day zero vulnerability or something that's creating massive issues across millions of user accounts at big companies. And so just maybe being a little more paranoid than you normally be as a developer is really important.
Thank you for that, Sammy. I think Definitely, AI is just starting out right now. We had the AI Awards just last week, and we were amazed by the kind of projects that people come up with and the areas that it's being applied to right now. And yeah, even the judges were saying about they're excited about the scope of it and what it'll bring, especially in 2027 and the years ahead. So thank you for shedding some light on that, especially from a developer perspective. My next question to you is, what are the most important shifts developers need to pay attention to as AI reshapes how products are built?
Yeah, the main one is a mindset shift. So historically, developers have been graded on how productive they are. You hear about like the 10x developer, the 100x developer, and it's really that nomenclature is a function of someone's production. And so the 10x developer produces more code than the 1x developer, or 10x higher quality code than kind of your average developer. And that's no longer where the mode is. It's now agents can do all of the coding and are expected to do all the coding and can do it faster, better, cheaper. And so the level of kind of quality needs to move to a different level of abstraction. So whereas historically it's been at the code creation level, now it needs to move to the code review level, or the code publishing level. So just having someone who is exercises really strong judgment, really understands design decisions, understands software architecture, can spin up agents to do whatever they need to do, but is ultimately the human in the loop to make sure it's not going off the rails, but also creating a lot of value. It's really easy now to go from zero to like 90%, but to do that last 10%, you still need people to make sure that the polish is there. So the workflow is very different than what an engineer is normally used to. They're being graded on a different scale, essentially. So that's the first one. The second one is the tools. The tools are ever evolving, but primarily you see developers using IDEs, and that's what it's been for as long as people can remember. And now you hear people talking about agent harnesses more, which is things like OpenAI's like Codex, Anthropic's Claude Code, and Cursor, where there is a baseline IDE, if you will, or some sort of interface that you can interact with. But really, the terminal becomes much more important, and the prompting and interface becomes more important. You see people prompting even through voice and getting the outputs that they want. You see people using terminals and command line interfaces in order to get jobs done. And that kind of harkens people back to maybe the 90s or even before that, when terminals were more popular, but IDEs have been the tool of choice for developers for a long time. I still think that trend is going to continue. I think IDEs are still have their place, but this idea of like an agentic harness that has the capabilities of an IDE, but then you have access to like obviously like the command line interfaces, you have access to MCPs, you have access to different skills and markdown files. And when you put all those things together, they equip your agent in a way that you wouldn't have otherwise. So if you think about the models that undergird all that, the models are smart, but it's like a brain with no body. It doesn't do anything unless you have all of the things around it to make it do something, which is the services, the MCPs, the skills, the markdown files, all of that sort of stuff. So the tooling's really changed over time in the past couple of years.
Right. And obviously, AI has become like very central to our lives and how we build and ship for developers. Like, I want to ask, how does digital identity factor in as AI becomes more central?
Yeah, great question. As the cost of producing software continues to get cheaper and cheaper, I mean, it's always been marginal cost of zero because it's software, it's bits, but the human cost of a developer building has obviously been really expensive over time. So as that marches down closer to zero, because you don't need as much engineering resources to build something, the real moat is shifted to distribution and brand assets. So with something like distribution, it's really having a big audience, having the right audience, being able to go direct to customers, being able to get feedback from the customers, just owning the linkage to the revenue, which is the customer. And then the brand asset is really being mentally and physically available. So if you're mentally available, like Google, for instance, is kind of the generic example. Like anytime someone thinks they need to search something, they go to Google. And so you don't, it's harder to compete with a company that's won the verb or your head automatically goes to that verb. And so the brand asset is really critical. And physical availability and kind of the online sense is just being everywhere at all times. So whereas in the past, you'd push messaging out to people and you try to get content in front of them. Now your content has to pull people in, so you have to be wherever they are. So if people are searching in ChatGPT, you have to be on ChatGPT. If people are searching through TikTok or Instagram, you have to be there, and you have to make sure your brand stands out there and has a differentiated message. And so with product becoming commoditized, those are the two things that start to become more and more important for a company.
100%. I think they've come up, I think there's something called as GEO as well. I think, when you Google something and
Yeah.
AI gives you like a description, how do you rank higher in that as well? I think there are like multiple ways, like even marketing has changed so much for that matter, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, with the new terms like AEO and GEO, I think those are all spin, to be honest. I think in reality, it's SEO. SEO has always worked, it continues to work. And technical SEO is what now AEO and GEO refer to. And
Yeah.
I think it's just terms created by people who are trying to sell things to other people in this
Yeah.
AI phase and create some FOMO around people not knowing how to get citations or to rank better, but SEO works and will continue to
However,
be really
they make
important.
money out of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, my last question to you, Sammy, is what would be that one piece of advice that you'd give to any developer that's trying to stay ahead of the curve right now?
Yeah. The main thing is being curious. So try all the tools, keep an open mind, rethink your workflows, and just be open to new experiences. The entire way we work is being rethought currently, and the people who are going to benefit the most are the ones who are going to jump straight into the tools and be excited about them. So I think developers who are open-minded are going to succeed and do really well because they're trying out all the different things. Another thing that I always think is valuable when you're trying to learn something new is being as direct as possible to the thing. So if you're trying to learn how to swim, like go swimming, don't just read books or watch YouTube videos about it.
We go there.
Um, yeah, you literally just do the thing. And so with this, it's if there's a programming language that's more popular with AI, like TypeScript, go learn TypeScript. If you're a PHP developer and you see Python doing really well, try to figure that out. If there's a new framework that people are excited about, if there's a new tool that makes your life easier, go try it and build an actual product in order to learn instead of just consuming content and trying to learn by osmosis. I think directness is a really useful way of thinking about learning.
Lovely. That was so helpful, Sammy. Thank you so much. Um, that was my final question for the podcast. And you've also written like a wonderful article for us. And that will be published on Software Testing News. So for those who want to read it, make sure that you have a look at the description. And thank you again, Sammy, for your time. And hopefully we'll collaborate on another podcast soon.
For sure. Thank you for having me.